I need this, yeah, I need this. You're my fault, my weakness. When did you turn so cold? You cut me down to the bone. Now you're dancing all over my soul. I'm falling to pieces, to pieces, to pieces. But I still stay, 'cause you're the only thing I know. So won't you take, oh, won't you take me home? Take me
storytelling. I have to wait for the logo. Hello everyone, I'm Bertie from Eurogamer, and this is a storytelling panel as introed by Carmageddon there. So we all love stories. Papa Smurf reading there. true stories, fiction. Notice the American there. And for long as games could tell stories, they have, of course. Leisure Suit Larry there. Oh, I've skipped ahead. Hold on a second, I'm sorry, I've messed it up. Here we go. So when the internet came along, internet serious business, everything changed. People started sharing their stories in MUDs. So, and then the floodgates opened. So we still get stories told to us in a more classical sense, people as in, telling us their story. But more and more, the stories being told are ours. Stories, emergent stories, such as Minecraft and this other game, Daisy. So here to talk about that and talk about kind of the evolution of storytelling in games are my panelists, and I'm going to introduce you to them now. So I'll start right here with Mike Bithell, the creator of Thomas Was Alone and Volume.
Hello.
Hello, Mike. Which gaming story sticks out for you in your life?
Wow, that's a good question that you fortunately gave us about 10 minutes ago. So I had time to think of an answer. But annoyingly, the answer I came up with was the incredibly obvious one, which is Half-Life, which is a game that I played. I know I was definitely 16 because I was late to my prom.
What, were you near the end or something? How?
I was at the bit. It was the so it was close to the end. It was the bit with the assassins kind of show up, and I was just really in the zone. And my mum ended up driving me to my my end of secondary school prom.
So did you get time to finish the game? Was that?
No, but I got to go to a party I wasn't allowed to drink at. So
Rubbish.
It was, well, even anyway. This is. I feel we've gone off. Half-Life's brilliant. No, I think for me, I remember playing Half-Life. It was that kind of. I just played Deus Ex and Metal Gear Solid, and then Half-Life. It feels like I was just the right age at the right time for when games started telling stories in ways that were unique to games, environmental storytelling, these kind of interactions that tell a story rather than just a series of cutscenes. It was a great time, and we're all now ripping them off on a daily basis, which is great.
Creating new things. Thank you. Next guest is Holly Gramazio, I think I'm pronouncing it right, a freelance game designer and used to work for Hide and Seek. Holly, what gaming memory sticks out for you, or what story sticks out for you?
Probably. I mostly work in games with a real-world element, so things where there are performers or things that happen in museums or public space or that kind of thing. So the gaming story that sticks out for me, and the game that made me get into all of that stuff, is a game called Journey to the End of the Night, which was designed by a group called SF0, but it's been run all over the world. And it doesn't have a plot, really, or at least if it does have a plot, it's usually less good than the runs without a plot. But what it does really, really cleverly is set things up so people have their own peculiar experiences and make their own stories within it, which they then share. So I turned up with 3 friends. I'd moved to London 5 months previously from Australia, didn't really know my way around it at all. Turned up with 3 friends outside this massive abandoned warehouse in East London, and we were given a map with 5 checkpoints on it and told we had to get to those 5 checkpoints in order, and we had 3 hours because the last checkpoint was on the banks of the Thames at low tide, and if we didn't get there in 3 hours, then it would no longer be there. And that was all fair enough, and we started planning our routes, and then some gates opened way up on the abandoned warehouse, and some performers stepped out wearing red ribbons. We all had white ribbons so we could recognise each other. They had red ribbons, and they all looked quite fit and energetic, and also one of them was in those big springy things that make you run really fast, and we were told that we had 2 minutes and then they'd be chasing us, and if they caught us they'd take our white ribbon and give us a red ribbon, and we'd become one of them. And it was just the most extraordinary evening. It was hours and hours of running around frantically. My legs ached for days afterwards. For a couple of weeks, whenever I saw someone wearing red out of the corner of my eye on the tube or something, I would jump. But the tiny little bits of story that we as players developed from that, the things about like the time my friend Josh ran across the road, literally risking his life in order to draw some chasers away from us so we could get down one alleyway. The time Josh inevitably got caught and betrayed us and chased us down and eventually ended up isolating one of us in a park and chasing him for 10 minutes frantically. All of these tiny moments of bravery or betrayal were kind of the thing that made me decide I wanted to do game design.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a very powerful experience, and the sort of experience that we're seeing more and more with people. I don't want to say water cooler moments, but that point where people come into work or whatever and say, "Look, well, I did this." Thank you. Moving on to my next guest, Ed Stern, writer for Splash Damage. You may have seen him on not this stage, but a Rezzed stage before last year. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Which story in gaming sticks out for you?
I fear this is going to be quite a generational thing, but Deus Ex, the first Deus Ex game, it was the first game that I didn't know what the right answer was. And every game up to that point had been clear, oh, okay, this is a puzzle made by the designer and there is an optimal outcome and you're trying to intuit or guess or brute force the best way. And you get to the end of it and it says, no, what are your values? What do you believe? I think that was the first, and also it was just really interestingly written. And it was full of stuff like, oh, the Illuminati, I've heard of them. Oh, I didn't know that about them. It was smarter than I was. It was better written than anything I'd done. And it really, obviously Half-Life as well. Just like, oh look, grown-ups made this. This is worthy of time and attention. And I think prior to that point, it was like, people make these? Really? That was the first thing I got a sense of real authorship and kind of expertise in that way. And I've ripped that off every day since, as well as Half-Life, yes.
Well, yeah, copying is the highest form, imitating the highest form of flattery. So our final guest, you might recognise him. He's been in a couple of sessions so far. It's Dean Hall, the creator of DayZ, and one of the games that is making people talk about stories in a different way, lots of different stories that are popping up out of the game. Dean, what story or moment of story in games sticks out to you?
I have a disappointing thing for you, actually, Bertie. Dean Hall is currently not here. Dean Hall is currently under a table being chased by an alien because someone suggested that I play Alien Isolation just before this panel. So all I can really think is, help me, I'm stuck under a table and an alien's chasing me.
But you're army trained, you can deal with this.
Yes, I did. I dealt with it perfectly fine up until the point I panicked. And then they showed me that you can hide under the table. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. This is where I'm staying. And thanks. This is my safe place.
It is comfortable under there, isn't it?
It's very comfortable. Anyway, I did, in my delirium and panic, I have managed to think of one game. And for me, it was actually Police Quest. So the Sierra game, you had Leisure Suit Larry up there. Because I was really young and it made me feel like I was a police officer and I was in this little town and I don't know, maybe I was just at the right age to sort of understand some of that stuff, and so it actually let me do it. And I'd never really played a lot on the Amiga. I'd never really played a lot of games that made me really feel like I was doing it. Like it had this adult storyline and I was this teenager and it was kind of like you said, it was like adults made this and I was kind of coming to the club, and it's not, I guess, the most open world type game, but it really did put me in, and I think I was really hooked at that point.
Fantastic. So you all make games, which is why you're here. Ed, I might jump to you for this one. What are the golden rules for telling a story in games?
Well, let me tell you. For what?
For telling a story, for storytelling in games.
Turn up for work dressed and sober.
I'm ruined. I'll never be able to do it.
Out loud. Depends on the game. I think one of the things that's very obvious, this can become clear through this session, and it's increasingly obvious looking at the industry, is that the term video game or games is just ludicrously broad. And I think within 10 years it's going to seem impossible that we ever used this one term to cover everything from physical games to board games to card games to platform-specific games to, you know, whatever gamer culture is. I mean, at what point do we just say, people play games? This is no longer... It's like, well, what about bipedal games? You know, what about games for people who breathe? Yeah, I breathe. That definitely counts for me. I work in predominantly kind of genre multiplayer PC stuff. I've done some console stuff as well, but it's very much kind of cosplay paintball. Is that an unkind way of putting it?
That's a new genre, yeah.
But you know, the story of a multiplayer game is that you go online and play a game with your friends. There's not so much in terms of authored narrative, in terms of a linear thing where you play through a level and you uncover stuff and you get stuff at the end. It's, when done right, it's infinitely replayable. I mean, BioShock, a wonderfully authored game, but we all brought something unique to it, but we all played the same game. Maybe at different difficulty settings, but in terms of the narrative, it was laid out for us. Maybe we missed some stuff, but it was the same beautifully authored narrative. For multiplayer stuff, it's a sandbox, a rule set, and a toolkit to forge your own experiences. And I think that's true, increasingly true of, well, it's always been true of physical games. It's getting more true of open... I mean, DayZ is a perfect example. I never would have thought... I find it really positive, the thought that people are embracing such a hard, unforgiving... You know, there's no breadcrumbing, there's no easy way in. You die all the time in a variety of incredibly paranoia-inducing ways. For us, or for, you know, conventional multiplayer games, there's a certain genre expectation. It helps if you played a game like that before. And then it's kind of variations on a theme. So you can have too much narrative. You can certainly have too little. And it's like, well, hang on, this might as well just be paintball. And other times it's, no, wait, I must tell you everything that's happened here for the last 50 years. It's like, I'm playing a game here. Stop. So it depends on the project, but you can certainly have too rich a narrative environment, and you can certainly have too bland a narrative environment. And I have made both of those mistakes.
Mike, what works for you when telling a story in a game? Because you don't necessarily have that multiplayer community building stuff, so it's quite mechanical for your games. How do you approach that?
Well, I'm very much in the old school kind of authored kind of game narrative thing, or at least I was. Thomas Was Alone is a very linear story. You can't have any effect on what plays out there. The stuff that I was interested in exploring, like you say, is the is where player action becomes a part of the storytelling, and where you mirror what the player's doing, and where you intentionally subvert that. You know, obviously, we all got very excited about saying ludonarrative dissonance last year. Most of the people using it were using it in the wrong context, but it's fine. And go on, quip.
Now it's the year of Luigi narrative dissonance.
It's the year of Luigi narrative. But that's interesting, because it's the same. So I always equate it to action movies. You know, John McClane, Die Hard. That story is told via what he does to people and how he explores the world. It's very, very applicable. I do a whole really boring talk about this, but it's a video game narrative. And so in Thomas Was Alone, it became a really interesting challenge to make sure that a platformer was conveying character personalities. So daft stuff like there's a character who can float in water called Claire. And the thought process was, okay, so a character who can float in water in a world where no one else can, they're going to think they're a superhero. That's going to be a massive, awesome thing, and they're going to get an ego about it. They're going to become a bit arrogant, a little bit annoying, but also kind of lovable. And you start playing with this stuff. Volume's an interesting case of trying to make a game where player action actually informs ethics and morality, and you play a character who doesn't kill people. He
doesn't do what?
He doesn't kill people, I know. I am innovating all over the place. But yeah, so he doesn't kill people, and then that becomes interesting, because actually if you make the player play in a certain way for a few hours, when you have the player, when you kind of do narrative stuff around that as well, you can kind of explore things. I mean, Spec Ops famously inverted it in a way that shocked a lot of people, which was cool. But yeah, that's the stuff that really interests me, is actually kind of being aware that there's a player playing a game and they're sat in their pants, holding a controller, doing their thing. And then also I'm telling my story with my voice actors and my script and my soundtrack and all that stuff. and actually having fun with where the overlaps occur and where things kind of can influence each other. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Holly, we'll come back to you in a second, but Dean, before we do, there are lots of stories that come out of DayZ, and they all seem incredible. Are there any that have really stuck out to you, really, that you still remember when you think?
I guess I do tend to tell the same stories again and again, so I'm never quite sure which ones I've told and which ones I haven't. But one that does stick with me is, well, I guess probably my first player kill myself that I did stuck with me, and I haven't said it this year, so anyone who heard it last year probably remembers it, but it was where I'd found these new players to the game, and I was they were just
you were preying on them, preying on the new players.
No, I was just watching them, and they were at a church, and I decided to talk to them, and I ended up saying, look here, I'll take you to the airfield, because that's where you can find some military loot. This was with the mod, and we were proceeding across the airfield, and I saw this player in the distance, and I decided to fire some warning shots at the player, but I don't know, I think it was just curiosity or something like that. I just kept shooting, and I ended up killing him. And one of the guys goes, wow, you shot him. And it was kind of the way he said it. It was like, we thought you were a hero, but you killed him. And I remember feeling terrible, and I actually felt really terrible for a couple of days after that, and it really stuck with me for quite a long time.
And then you got over it and kept on killing.
That's right. And now I'm currently under a table, terrified of names. So, yeah.
Holly, what do you think needs to change in the way that games tell stories? Where do you think video games can be better? Where do you think they can be stronger? Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, gosh.
What would you do? What would you like to see happening in games? What would impress you? What would you, and you would say, that's great. I hoped that would happen.
I have a slight obsession at the moment with a really impenetrable analogy that means nothing to almost everyone of sort of current video games as a way of thinking about them being to think about what was going on in theatre in the 1920s and 30s. Yeah, well, lots and lots of different stuff. So you still had all of these, we were talking about this on the train, you still had all of these massive pseudo-Victorian things with huge painted backdrops and big swaggy curtains and all of that kind of thing, drawing apart, and all of the sort of traditional huge stories where people are melodramatic. But you also have things that are explicitly about questioning the conventions of theatre at the time, and also things that are kind of not really plays, but use the form of plays to do different bits and pieces, and then things that are just like neat and tidy and really nicely made, like tiny little Noel Coward plays with 5 actors that use the form of the traditional big backdrop stuff that's still going on, but don't seem to echo that. So kind of stuff that continues to allow me to think about it using this analogy would be great. So if some people can start recreating like 40s and 50s theatre in video game form so that I don't have to come up with a new analogy to think about it, that would be really handy.
Well, I think that's Dean's next game. So,
well, I think that's a refreshing way of thinking about it, and how much of it is just driven by technology. And the weird thing now is that almost every generation of game-playing technology is kind of equally valid. It's like, in movie terms, it's like, hey, the indie kids are making black and white, hand-cranked silent movies. And that's great. And, you know, some people are making a living. That's brilliant. They're making kind of 1930s, very stagey dramas. Every camera and film stock is currently available to us in game development terms. And the one thing that wouldn't be acceptable as an aesthetic choice is kind of Quake 3 engine stuff from about 8 years ago. That would be, well, it's too soon to be retro, you know, like, you know. But unless you're as a stylistic choice, it's not clear what that means. And as an example of that, I'd say FTL, which I love and I've played a huge amount of. If that had come out 4 years previously, the graphics would have just been bad. Like, hang on, this is clunky and bad, and the animations are terrible. Now it's charming, and it seems like a really carefully authored, beautifully intended thing, where actually the fact that the animations have got about 3 frames each is brilliant and part of the gag. So as more and more of this, as it's easier to make games and more different kinds of people are making games, and it's really startling when you think about it, just what a restricted demographic we're allowed to make games in the last 20 years. And now that's opening up, and hooray, thank goodness for that. But that now it's so much easier to make a Twine game, or a Game Maker game, or a Unity game, or any of those things. And now, good Lord, Unreal is now a subscription. Fantastic. We're going to get more interesting, meaningful stories. The problem is, out of the box, none of the ways you move coloured blobs around the screen are inherently meaningful. Trying to make those things significant is really tough. And that's something, with Thomas Was Alone, which I liked a lot, because for me it was all about being a younger sibling. It was all about being not quite wanting to keep up and kind of resenting the junior status, but admitting the fact that I wasn't as good as that. And it's like, hang on, this is just a box platformer. Look, there's no... Or with DayZ, which is movement, shooting, and inventory management. Look how significant that becomes when it's about survival and it's about scarcity and kind of existential threat. So you should be able to make a... Oh, good Lord, Papers, Please. Or Cart Life. You know, these have hardly any graphics at all, and they're deeply involving art games. Oh, let's not bring the A word into it, but they're deeply significant. You know, the mechanics of the game are pretty primitive, but the implications of them are much more universal, and I'm hoping we'll see a lot more stuff like that.
Fantastic. So the future is bright. I want to open this up now to questions from you lovely lot. And while you're thinking, there's a microphone in the middle, incidentally, which I'll ask you to go to, lean into, embrace. I don't know how that works. And so if you want to start heading over there, if you've got a question now. In the meantime, we're going to play a little game on stage. Does anyone remember Consequences? Not like Spin the Bottle or something like that, but... So we're going to make an impromptu story on stage very quickly while you guys are lining up. So I've got a slide. This is what we're going to do on each page, as quickly as we can.
This will begin it.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, would you like to start? Like, I've written it out, and then turn the page over when you're done. No cheating, Holly.
You realise that you can see through those pages?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just next time buy slightly more expensive.
Yeah.
I like what you were saying, Ed, about Papers, Please, because with me, one of the most significant screens for the story was actually the end screen where you had to decide who ate. Like, that just filled out the game for me, because suddenly everything I did was critically important, because then I was going to have to decide. And the uncle was always screwed, right? He was always screwed. The uncle was first to go. You're not like part of the pure bloodline, so yeah. I've played CK2. I know how it works.
Okay, we can. We'll take a question just to make it trickier. While they're thinking of one thing, we'll make them think of something else. Okay, so first question, please. Lean forwards and bang on.
What like lean
That's
forwards?
brilliant.
That is a good look, mate. You look good.
No, it just feels a bit too rock star. Anyway, I wanted to ask, just with what you were talking about where you see storylines developing. Dialogue seems to be somewhere where we've almost reached a bit of a barrier at the moment, that nothing's really developed. This is really weird hearing my voice back in. Nothing seems to develop really far beyond, here's 4 choices of things you might want to say, and I actually don't feel we've got to a point where a player gets to really choose the direction of a story, because they're limited by the dialogue options they've got. So you can choose where to go and which missions to play, but I wonder what developments are being made to develop storylines where someone can really choose what they want to ask.
Well, the biggest challenge to that is a technical one, and it's what you said, it's options. Options are finite. Whatever you do with options, and especially if you've got a voice cast, that's an expensive, long process, both in terms of the money spent on actors and microphones and all this stuff, but also just in terms of how much disk space there is, just daft things like that. Where it becomes interesting, actually, I think DayZ, just to keep mentioning your game, I'm sure you're not sick of that yet, though. No, it's all good. But that's where DayZ, Minecraft, these kind of games come in, because they provide verbs that are actions. It goes back to what I was saying before. We're making action games. We're making games where you do things, and that's how you express yourself. That's a lot more gradated and analog than any list of text could ever be. And I think that might be the path. In terms of dialogue specifically, I think we need to work out a completely different approach. There will be someone who works this out and it will suddenly open up a whole new world, but for now we're all so limited by actors and agents and disk space and all that stuff. So we'll see. I remember Facade. Do you ever play Facade?
Nope.
Get Facade. It's a freeware game from it's at least 10 years old now, right?
Oh, God. No, it can't possibly be 10 years old.
I think it might be, yes. I think it might. I remember playing it at university. That's great. It's a dinner party game. And you walk in and it uses text and text-to-speech. And it's incredible because actually you walk into this space, you're a guest at a party with a couple who are in this house, and it can go in a million directions based on what you say, whether you pick up the right glass and whatever, you can break up the couple, you can convince them you can be a zombie. I've seen people role play it as a zombie and freak them out. It's an amazing glance at what could be possible one day. So check that out.
Yeah, I saw a TED talk actually on a similar kind of lines where you build blocks. So maybe that's the route through, changing the way you input dialogue. Anyway.
I want to say, with dialogue, it kind of feels like the ideal would be to be able to actually just say what you want and have things respond to it. But if you let people actually do that, which obviously in games with the real-world component you often can, people kind of hate it and are terrible at it and sort of stand around awkwardly going, hello, I have come to collect the thing I meant to collect, and the actors have to try really, really super hard to make anyone feel comfortable at all. And obviously there are subcultures like, Nordic LARPing and so on, where people feel comfortable with that, but normal people do not want to be able to say whatever they want.
I have an ambition, and it is that as part of the game install process, you have to read all of the audio lines yourself. With no context whatsoever. So you're stuck in the position of the poor voice actors on early games where they just give, I went to it was a presentation by voice actors on how to not write terrible game dialogue, and said, give some bloody context. He was given this one script and the line was, well, goodbye, son. And it wasn't clear, is he going off to war? Is he going shopping? Is he so yeah, I just want to force the player to be in their position. The weird thing is about particularly dialogue in terms of actions, is that there are three disciplines. There's writing, there's game design, and there's acting, all of which are obsessed with verbs. If you studied screenwriting, it's all about, the scene breakdown is not the clever line of dialogue, it's what is the verb in this scene? What's this scene about? What's the change in... It's an old screenwriting saw. If the relationship between your characters is the same at the end of the scene at the beginning, nothing has happened. It's just talk. Actors, when you're Stanislavski technique, it's all about what is my character doing here? Not the adjective, not the adverb, what's the verb? And as designers, we're going, well, what is it? I mean, for us, it's just shoot, blow stuff up. The weird thing in DayZ is when, even though you've actually, in some ways, you've got fewer special attacks and special moves, you've actually got more compound verbs. You've got intimidate, you've got placate, things that are actually really hard to do in... I don't know, with the dialogue tree, actually. So it's weird that all three disciplines are obsessing about those and they're not joining up yet.
It's interesting, actually, the technological limitation I talked about with VO. The one thing that doesn't cost us anything technologically, money-wise, microphones, agents, is motivation, is what's going on in the player's head. So as long as we can provide a palette of tools and verbs that they can use to express whatever the hell they're thinking, they can do all of the expensive, interesting stuff of why am I doing this, why am I not doing this, and that can be, the game can exist in their head to an extent, and that's really exciting.
Thank you. Brilliant, thank you. Next question, please.
Hiya, we're from a fledgling indie games company, Not Games, and we want to ask, what do you wish people had told you a week before you launched your first ever game?
Sleep.
I think the most important thing, particularly if you're thinking about early access, is your game has to be fun when it releases. If you're not thinking about early access and you're fully releasing, I don't know, because we haven't reached that point yet. But definitely with early access, if you're doing any of that kind of alpha stuff, is that what you guys do, or?
Well, we're working for charity, actually. 100% profits go to our chosen charity, Peer Productions. So we're releasing next Friday a game called Not GTA 5. Basically a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I can't think why. I don't...
Might only be available for 3 days, so probably buy it quickly. But it's just as a 20-minute comedy, fun romp through Great Britain, and we're releasing it on Friday. We just want some advice.
Yeah.
What people often told me when I started making games was stop worrying about all of the tiny little details that no one else but you will notice. That I think, I wish they hadn't told me that. I wish they'd told me, continue worrying about every tiny little thing, continue trying to make it as much better as you can, as hard as you can in like the last few days available to you. Everything that you think someone might notice, someone will notice.
Concentrate on the stuff you can actually fix.
Okay.
Because you can expend more energy worrying about something you can't fix than doing anything about it. So the stuff that's within your control. Also, work out the exchange rate between the different bits of a game changes over the course of development. Like, voiceover is free up until you record it, and then it's the most expensive thing because you can't change it. At different points, suddenly it'll become, oh, actually, we can add some more art really easily. Or, hang on, we can just reverse that animation. Suddenly you get that for free. Just watch out for those little economies. We can go, oh, wait, there's a much easier way of doing this. Or, you know what, we could spend twice as much time making that 2% better. It's not worth it. You can use that time elsewhere better.
So in summary, worry a lot, but only about the right things, and stop worrying magically when it's bedtime.
Simple.
Brilliant. Please follow us at Not Games UK.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi. Just before I say my question, I just quickly looked up. Facade was released on 5th of July 2005.
2005.
So it's almost 9 years.
I'm still young. I'm still young.
For my question, I was just wondering, like, I personally love how stories, when developers implement them into the gameplay and really like try and make it part of the experience. But I get worried when they get too carried away with it. Like, this is just my personal opinion, but I didn't like how Mass Effect 3, the developers were talking about how they didn't want an end boss because it would be too video gamey. Or when Beyond Two Souls came out last year, I also felt that they went too carried away with storytelling and they drew away from the video game itself, and I feel that can weaken it overall. I was just wondering on your opinions on that.
Yeah, I know from my perspective, one of the reasons it's always great to be on these panels, but this is the one I get most scared about when they ask me to fill in. But see, these guys probably know instantly what a verb or an adjective is, but I start going, what the hell is a verb again? I'm trying to think. I think I was too busy like trying to throw gum at someone at school when they were doing that bit. So that's why I don't really do a lot of narrative, because I know that I'm not good enough at it to be able to really pull it off. And I think if I started doing it, we'd end up with some crazy, bizarre, hilarious sort of cobbled together something. And I wonder whether it is a slippery slope sometimes, and whether it's difficult to find that balance.
You have to play to your strengths, definitely, when you're making games, but also challenge yourself and stretch. But just like control the stretch. All I would say to you, it's interesting actually. It's a conversation that I'm hearing more and more from gamers and players and whatever we want to call ourselves. It seems to change every week on Twitter. There's a frustration that, you know, this specific game does something that feels wrong. And I think we should critique stuff. We should absolutely say, I don't like this, because that's how we get better. But I think the most exciting thing right now is that there are so many games. There are more games than there have ever been. The chances are you could name anything you want from a game, and there's probably an idiot somewhere coding it right now, and it's better than you can imagine and expect. So all I would say is we're going to be seeing over the next few years games pushing in really interesting directions, doing really weird stuff, Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. There'll be games you hate, there'll be games that offend you and disgust you with they're not games, they're walking simulators, or this is disgusting and violent and horrific and embarrassing to our culture. We're going to get angry and excited in equal measure, but it's going to continue. And this is the great thing about this diversity and this enormous new movement of games being made. If you don't like it, there'll be another one along in a minute that you love, and that's exciting to me. So I think it's absolutely okay to dislike those games. It's absolutely okay to be annoyed about Mass Effect. A few people were. I remember reading a forum post somewhere, and I'm not a massive fan of Beyond either. But there are always going to be other games that do it, and I think we should embrace that. We should embrace that there's stuff we hate, because that means there's going to be stuff we love.
There's an old development joke I no longer find even remotely funny, which is that...
Why are you wasting our time with it, then?
Yeah. So you too can suffer. Which is that you finish the game with the team you should have started with, and a month after it ships, you find out what it's about. The notion that the people who are making a game are the best or even competent judges of what the right balance of the elements are is crazy. I mean, the smaller it is, the easier. The fewer pair of hands and the shorter development cycle, because that means you get to put it in front of players and see what they think. But also, there's just no such thing as the well-formed game. Just as Mike was saying, like, there's no one audience. Now, that's the kind of one of the dirty secrets, if you like it, of game design, is that everyone thinks every other gamer is like them, and they're not. You know, we get that a lot from very hardcore gamers, like, what gamers really want is this. It's like, dude, there's 4,000 of you. Like, it's not enough. In order to get you this game you'll enjoy most of, we've got to make a game that all these people can enjoy too. And that's just the financial, reality of making games on that scale. The smaller, more focused stuff can be much more specific in their audience, which is why I think you get more daring and more satisfying things, because they're just trying to hit one thing perfectly, rather than go, here's something for you, here's something for you, or we don't exclude these people. It can turn into a bit of a kind of munged up mess. But then there's nothing wrong with wanting as many different people as possible to play your game. I don't want to make a game just for me. That seems like a really boring ambition.
Weirdly enough, there's a lot of people that like goats, apparently. First goat simulator, so there you go.
Thank you very much for your question. I hope it answers it. I'm afraid that's all the time we've got for questions. But I'd like to read you a little story I haven't been writing. It's probably better. So, this a story as it comes out here. So, verbose Balthazar met amphibious Marilyn at a swingers' night. He wore spats and a towel. She wore a sensible hat. He said to her, "This reminds me somewhat of Daisy." She said to him, "Well, isn't that nice? Well done." The consequence was, the squid became enraged and refused to respond to mind control. Many died. It smelled really bad. What the world said, that was that. And that is that. I'm Bertie. Thank you very much. And thank you to my guests, Mike, Holly, Ed, and Dean. Thank you to you guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. And come back here to see all the other panels. We've got Zombies. We've got Dean Hall again with Project Zomboid guys. We've got a Eurogamer podcast later. We've got the Creative Assembly Game Jam. And there is Frozen End Zone on later as well. So a packed schedule, packed day. Enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Go.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the final day of the developer sessions at EGX Rezzed. I hope you're all having an awesome show. Hope you're enjoying yourself, getting to play lots of really awesome games. We have a very exciting panel for you, and so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Will Porter of the Indie Stone, who's going to present to you Oh No, More Zombies.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Oh No More Zombies, or as the EGX organisers are calling it, Oh No More Dean Hall. This is going to be a completely non-biased discussion about whether zombies are indeed rubbish or not. You'll probably guess where we're going to end up, just because of what all our games are about. Okay, so we're going to introduce some of the lovely people in front of you now. Guys, if you could just introduce yourself, the role on the game that you work on, and one single fascinating fact about your life so far. Andy, take it away.
I'm Andy Hodgetts, and I'm a technical artist and co-designer on Project Zomboid. And my fascinating fact is I have actually learned from 2 years ago when we did the panel and gone to the loo before this, so I'm not stressing about that the entire time.
Mash?
Hi, I'm Marina. I'm an artist on Project Zomboid, and my legs are way too short for this stool.
Hi, my name is Romain Dron. I'm a coder for Project Zomboid, and my fascinating fact is I'm French.
I'm Dean Hall. I'm the project lead on DayZ, and the fascinating fact about me is I get really, really high on sugar. So, and I'm not allowed coffee. Kind of like a gremlin, really.
Great. And just in case people in the audience are not aware of the games we work on, I thought it'd be quite fun if we kind of introduce each other's games. So, Andy, could you tell the world what DayZ is, just in case someone's brought their mum in and they don't know what it is?
To the best of my understanding, DayZ is basically a handcuffing and forcing people to undress game.
And Dean, what do you make of Project Zomboid?
Well, Project Zomboid, I actually tried to turn Project Zomboid into multiplayer into that when I played it. But Project Zomboid, to me, it's like, you always wanted to know what it was like to be inside The Walking Dead. And while the Telltale games are really awesome, what I found with Project Zomboid is that it has all this depth to the game that allows you to do. So you can you have to have a total strategy when you approach it. So for me, it's like you need to find your safe house. You actually grow the plants, and you actually survive. And you have to make decisions about what you're going to do. If you grow too much plants, you end up with all this wasted food and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's really like being able to plug yourself into the zombie apocalypse and actually find out how things go.
I feel really bad about my description of your game now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I take things I take my gaming very seriously. So when I get into my Project Zomboid, I draw pictures everywhere.
No worries. Well, cheers, Dean, and we'll give you your 50 quid afterwards. So we've gathered you all here today because quite often when our game gets a news story on Eurogame or RPS, there'll be all these little voices that are popping up in the comments, a bit like Loyal Vigo off of the RPS forums, who says, zombie games, more zombie games, there's too many. And then someone else called Lenny Leonardo says, why won't they just die? So I thought it's just something quite interesting to talk about, really. I mean, guys, why do you think that zombies have this? Zombie games are massively popular, but at the same time, people are just a bit sick of them at the same time. So what do you think leads to zombie burnout?
Well, I guess I can kind of sympathize, because I personally am not really a zombie fan, which is weird, I guess.
You what?
Boo.
Out.
But I guess it's more because zombies have been used so many times just more as fodder. They're not really zombies. They're just a catch-all enemy. So you get a little bit tired of that kind of aspect of zombies.
Yeah, I think I often use the example, and I think you can apply it to Project Zomboid as well. It's an apocalyptic situation, right? But it would not be anywhere near as interesting if it was based on peak oil. The world has run out of oil and chaos has ensued. People aren't going to sit around and go, wow, I really want to play that game about peak oil. It's amazing. we run out of oil, and then everybody went all crazy. So it just provides you that good antagonist, right?
And I think as well that the people who are dismissive about zombie games treat it like it's the monster. I've seen the monster too many times, and it's not treating it as a genre, which is what it really is. And the evidence of the resurgence of zombie games in the last year or two goes to show quite how wide that genre can be, and so therefore it's kind of like it's no more weird than having a lot of war games or a lot of Space Marine games or something.
So Roman, this is the question you wanted to answer. Well, so why do you think that so many people really want to fantasize that they're like in this end of the world zombie apocalypse scenario?
I think the zombie apocalypse is cool because the movie teach us, the books teach us, and the TV shows, like everyone could be a hero in the zombie apocalypse. So like Shaun of the Dead, the hero is clearly he's a loser kind of, and he become a hero. That's why I think it's cool because we can be hero.
Because I think, no one really wants an apocalypse to happen. People are also afraid of nothing happening in their life. They want something big to happen, and then they could have something extraordinary will let them be extraordinary as well. And something like an apocalyptic scenario would show that even though they may not have book smarts or they might not have like a great job, they have the instinct to survive. They have the common sense that like I can survive, even if that's not true or not. But everyone likes to think they can survive.
I think as well, it's very liberating. So it's the freedom from all the rules and the constraints and bills and all that kind of stuff, and visiting your in-laws or whatever. So it's that real pure freedom that comes with the apocalypse situation. And then, like you say, that you're actually able to survive it. So you're like, wow, I've been pulled away from all these restrictions, and I can actually live. And I can, because my character has been alive for 3 months and like 20 days in Project Zomboid. I'm just saying.
Oh, cool. So, I mean, Dean, to what extent would you say that the DayZ, or DayZ as we might call it in this country, to what extent do you think it actually is like a zombie game, and to what extent is it like this horrible PvP nightmare?
Well, one of the problems we have, and this is what I guess I find frustrating, is a lot of people will write Project Zomboid off. We were talking about this the other day because of the graphic style. But when you look at DayZ, one of the reasons it was successful is because of its 3D, its first person and that kind of stuff. But when you make the game like that, there's tremendous restrictions placed on you with how you make the zombies. And when people say to me, oh, the zombies are terrible, it must be so easy to fix it, it's really not, because we have this massive 260 kilometre square world that's rendered in 3D. And that's what's so frustrating for me. I look at the zombies in Project Zomboid. What's fantastic about them is the way they move around, and then you kind of get in these situations where you panic, like I did with Alien Isolation, and you go try and hide, right? And then you hide and you hear the zombies banging down windows and doors. That's fantastic. So I guess for me, I feel like the zombies with DayZ they're not powerful enough. And that part of the reason that's held back is because of the complexity of the tech required in the world and the scale that we're trying to operate on. Has that kind of answered the question?
I think it does now. We were in the DayZ roadmap meeting presentation the other day. How will people see the zombies develop as this year goes on in DayZ?
Well, we're throwing a lot of resources at it, and there's things that I'd love to do. I really think that breaking down mechanic really works because it builds the tension. You can't just escape the situation, because more and more and more of them are going to come and they're going to break down the windows, and suddenly you go, oh yes, I'm safe, I'm in a room, and then you suddenly realise, well, there's only one way out, and they're going to break down that door. Mm-hmm. So it kind of pushes you through these different tensions, and I think it would be really great if we could do that with DayZ, so that they're not just a one-time immediate threat that then glitches through walls, and that they're actually something that chases you and comes to you. But look, it's very easy to say, oh, you should just fix the zombies, they're totally stupid. But it's really hard to do it.
Guys, and Zomboid guys, how do you think that we, making a zombie game with an enemy that everyone's seen so many times before, but how do you think that we keep it, or do our best to keep it like feeling fresh?
Well, I think it's like as Dean talked about earlier, it's the survival aspect, which is the most important aspect. The zombies are really, well, like you said about the oil, it's kind of like a persistent danger that's, and this is the beauty of like the slow-moving traditional zombies, is that one on their own is so weak and useless that you become very blasé and overconfident, and that's so your demise is almost always your own fault, because you're overconfident. You thought, like, these things are easy, and in their numbers, any one of them can scratch you and infect you, and that's it. And so it's all about there is no relaxation. It's just you have to always be focused, and everything you do has to be careful. But yeah, it's the survival genre has exploded as well as the zombie genre recently, and that's a really exciting.
But I think as well, I see a bunch of people describe something as survival, and they're not really. And I think that's what I like about. I guess that's what I like about DayZ, and I think it's very important. And it's another thing that I like about Project Zomboid. Like you say, you get scratched, and I don't want to destroy anything by saying the stats, but I've looked at the wiki, so. But there's very, very real chance that you're either going to get very sick or you're actually going to turn into a zombie. And that's very cruel when you think about it. That's a very cruel thing to do, It's so easy to get scratched. But that's what's so fantastic about it. And I think when you're talking about a survival game, if you don't have that, then it's not really survival. Otherwise, it's just, I'm just bashing through zombies. If you go around and just bash through zombies, you're going to degrade your fire axe or whatever you're using. And it's the same thing we tried to do with DayZ, is that everything you do has a consequence. And like you were saying, you have to plan it, and you have to develop a strategy behind it.
And I mean, what do you think's led to there's been this massive resurgence and growth of early access, especially survival games. I mean, you just look at the top 10, and there's yourself, there's us every now and again when we actually get on the front page of Steam. There's Rust, and I mean, why is it that all this seems to have happened at once? Well, anyone?
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's kind of always been there, part of it. At least this is what I think. Like, I was spending a bit of time at the Retro booth where they've got the Amigas and the Commodore. Has anyone else checked that out? Yeah, there's a few nods. That's real cool. And did you guys play like Amiga or BBC Micro or anything like that? Like, yeah, it was kind of survival, right? I think I said this in yesterday or something. Like, it's because if the power went out, like with my Amiga, I didn't have a hard disk. I just had the discs, so nothing saved. So it was very easy for you to just get really screwed over, and some of the games were really tough. But I guess there's been a few games that have maybe popularised a bit now, but I think for a long time people have been calling for these type of games. Maybe it's just been hard for people to find them, and a lot of publishers just weren't interested in looking at them. Like, I'd pitched an idea very similar to DayZ and been told, oh no, people don't really want that. They want a more casual experience and that kind of stuff.
I mean, I think it's like you say, back in the 8-bit era and everything, like nearly every game was you die and that's it, and you restart from level 1 again. And over time, we've developed a culture of quick save, quick load, and all this kind of thing. It's it's if something goes wrong, you just backtrack and reload. So yeah, there's definitely like interest in that hardcore kind of, if you die, that's it, it's over. And because without that, there's no pressure, there's no stress, there's no kind of don't fear for your character unless there's actual real danger. And we can't actually have real danger because you sat in front of a computer. But
and the satisfaction you get from getting it right. So in DayZ as well as in Project Zomboid, when you get it right, you feel pretty awesome. Or I do anyway.
So getting back to more of like the shambling undead horde. I mean, with Project Zomboid, we're making something that's pretty much very loyal to traditional sort of slow zombie lore. I mean, but do you think having like a strict adherence to zombie rules, is that a help or a hindrance in game design?
Sorry, yeah, I think it's the traditional, very, very slow-moving one bite, one scratch infection thing. That's just core to making the game really, really interesting, because it's like, it's almost like what I love about what we want to do with our game is sort of subverting all those movie tropes which are so common in like modern zombie films, where everyone says like, well, if I was in a zombie apocalypse, I'd love a chainsaw or something. And this would be possibly the worst weapon you could wield, because it's incredibly noisy, and when you start, chainsawing into a zombie, this infectious blood is splattering everywhere. It's like, it would be an absolute disaster. And it's almost like we're trolling our players by putting something in that's so common in films that everyone goes, wow, brilliant, and then they use it, and it's the worst thing ever. That was kind of off topic.
That's cool. Cool. I thought it might be also quite fun to talk about the things that we've learned from each other's games, and so how has Project Zomboid changed because of DayZ? I mean, what was it about the multi-million selling multiplayer mode of DayZ that maybe directed us towards it?
Well, it definitely helped us decide to push up multiplayer faster.
Yeah.
Because we got so many people saying, well, it looks pretty good, but I'll try it when there's multiplayer, because people really want to, once again, it's like the idea of having their own imagination of how they would survive in a apocalypse scenario. They want to be with other people. They're not imagining that. People don't really picture themselves as being alone for decades in the wilderness by themselves, right? If they want their family with them, they want their friends with them. They don't want to die alone, I guess. That's another fear.
And likewise, Dean, is there what kind of cross-pollination has gone between the games from your point of view?
Well, I mean, how long have we got? Like I say, I think I really liked how the cooking system and things like that worked. It's really good for me in a game. When you go to try and do something, and it actually works. Like something kind of like obscure. I'm trying to think of a game. It was like Max Payne or something the first time I played it, and I went up to a drinks machine or something. It might not have been Max Payne, and I pushed the button and a drink came out. And I was just like, whoa, that is awesome. Some poor guy probably worked for a week to get that to work. But as the same kind of thing, like I turned on a oven, and I burned the house down. And that's just fantastic. Those little touches that actually that actually appear in the game. That's the stuff we tried to add to DayZ. And while DayZ does get a lot of popular appeal because of it's 3D, it has a very realistic, detailed environment, that puts in a barrier, and it means that it's very complex and incredibly time-consuming to add in those features. If you're making, there's some really awesome 8-bit games out there, they have such a rapid development cycle when they want to put in a new item or a new weapon or something like that. It happens very quickly. Whereas with DayZ, the cycle is so long, and it's almost frustratingly long, and that's why we have to be so dedicated and pushing forward so hard. And so it can be really awesome to see a new feature like the way you do cooking, the way zombies work in terms of bashing down windows and doors. But the cycle that we face is much longer.
That's because, what I find really fascinating is that superficially you could say that our two games are very similar, because the setting is the same, and the survival aspects are very similar, and we can share a lot of inspiration from your game and hopefully vice versa. But what I find really fascinating is just the difference between being in 3D and 2D. One of our reasons why we made our game 2D in the first place was because we envisaged just a huge number of zombies, and we thought, well, we can't really do that many in 3D, because it's one of the most computationally expensive things you can do is soft skin models. So we thought, well, one quad with a texture on it, and we can have loads of them. And on top of that, I've often wondered, because with DayZ, of course, if you go to shoot a zombie in the head, you're looking down the scope. So if you get a headshot, then you've got a headshot. But with Zomboid, we've got an RPG approach, because you're just clicking a mouse button. That it's up to the game whether or not you got a headshot or not. So we can take a much more sort of RPG dice roll approach to it, and base it on skills and stats and everything, and therefore have have a character progression that would be a lot harder to do in 3D when you can literally aim yourself and it's your skill with the mouse. So I find that a really interesting distinction between our games.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's exactly right. And I think people really underestimate the difficulty involved. Like it's DayZ's greatest thing, but it's also its greatest curse, is that it's in 3D. Because that cycle is so much longer to add stuff, and in order to be able to add the number of zombies that exist in Project Zomboid, this tremendous amount of work has to go into, you know, multi-threading and then moving into multiple cores, and then you've got to tidy up. It's like traffic, you know, every time you fix a bottleneck, the bottleneck moves on somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think we ever realised quite how similar our game could be to DayZ actually until we let Dean into the multiplayer. And we got this insane situation where, what was it? I think you trapped a man in a room and forced him to strip.
He was asking for it. Yeah. He was asking for it. That was our area, right? It was totally our area.
You were protecting some paint or something. It all went pretty dark, pretty quick.
Pink paint.
Pink paint, yeah.
We were probably the pink painters or something, you know.
No worries. Okay, well, I think we're close to wrapping up. This is also the bit where I reveal that I was so petrified seeing your beautiful faces that I didn't actually press this button on the on the slides at all. So anyway, so we'll move swiftly through to this one, which is where we ask if there's any questions for us or the lovely Dean Hall. And thanks very much.
If you do have a question, if you come up to this microphone here and form a nice orderly queue, and yeah, we'll get to you that way.
Hi there, my name's Sobali. I'm just talking about, you know, this game. Is it going to come PS4 and Xbox One, this game?
So yeah, I think one of the things I'd said quite early on was that if we sold a lot, it would be natural for it to come to the consoles, and I definitely think it will. But I think it's really important when you're doing that kind of thing, any sort of multi-platform, that you've actually got to get the base right. Too many games have been ruined because they, well, in my opinion, because they had to work across all the platforms, and particularly with controls, you end up screwing things quite a bit. So I'd say it will, but we have no more information at the moment.
All right, thank you very much.
Referring to the Arma 2 DayZ March, were you getting paid for that? Sorry, just because it's a free mod to download and install and things.
No, I wasn't. I was actually I was a contractor on Arma 3. I was in the army at the time I actually made it. But yeah, no, I wasn't. But I'm doing fine, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to give me donations or anything.
How powerful do you think zombies should be? Like, how players should, like, fear zombies? Like, should they be a real big threat or a small threat?
Well, for our game, it's a zombie individually is possibly the weakest antagonist you could have, because it's numbers which make zombies incredibly dangerous, and the fact of one scratch, one bite, that's it, you're finished. You need them individually to be weak to make you as a player overconfident when, you know, with everything you do. So whenever we watch anyone playing our game, it's always they do so well, and then just one house they go into and they don't check the closet, and then they start cooking, and then you know, and that's it, game over. So if you had them too powerful, it would be you'd have to cut the numbers down, and then you wouldn't have your hordes and everything. So yeah, for us it has to be incredibly weak, but one slip up and it's over.
And for us, until we can dramatically increase the numbers, we have to play that balance between how many zombies can we realistically put in the game at one time on a player's screen, and then how many can we run on the server overall, and that is what we use to say how difficult the zombies should be. And that's why I think a lot of the time I've said one of the things we will probably spend the most time on in the whole project is the zombies, because they're just so difficult to get right. It's so difficult to get that balance right. We'll fiddle with one thing, like the other day we fixed a bug with how the zombies actually attack you, because curiously enough, and nobody really notices it, but we actually detect where the zombie hits you based on the arm colliding with your body. But that wasn't working and it was really bugged. So we turned up all the values of the potential chances of it causing bleeding. And then when we fixed the collision bug, suddenly you'd just bleed instantly whenever they even scratched you. So yeah, we play a lot. It's a very difficult balance for us to get right.
Thanks.
Hi there. First off, I'd ask, just out of interest, how many people here have actually worked on a zombie game? Just in the audience, anyone? No?
I have.
One or two. Yeah. What are you doing with your lives? Second off, I was just going to ask you guys, it's all about crafting player experiences with horror games. What was for you, or what stands out as a strong moment in a game you've loved that might have influenced your games in horror games?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So, is there a particular game or a particular jumpy, tension-building moment which has stood out to you in your development when looking at other games? Other means of horror mechanics in other games?
Well, for me, I think in terms of zombies specifically, I think the first time you go into the village in Resident Evil 4, when you don't know the capabilities of the zombies and what they can do, and like it's completely merciless. They just throw you right in, and just the moment where a zombie reaches through a window and pulls you through, and you have no idea that's possible, or the bit where you think you're clever because you climbed up a ladder, and all of a sudden the zombies start throwing fiery things. You're like, hang on, I did not know zombies could burn things down. Just the moments of surprise like that. That's certainly what Andy's going to laugh now because I use the word systemic a lot all of a sudden. But it's those very systemic things where where all of a sudden you encounter the unexpected. I think that's certainly a big one for me.
I think for me, I played a lot of Left 4 Dead when I was in Singapore, and I had a couple of moments that really stuck out with me, and one of them was I was just playing with a bunch of random people, and you'd fall over, and then someone would come, because I was always doing something real stupid, and I'd be miles off the way here because I got completely lost, and someone would actually come back and heal me, and you just see this lull in chat or something, and then they'd be like, oh, there's your rocket over there, he's dead. He like found the witch and then just run around. And for me, it was just really awesome that someone would go back and do this nice thing for me, some random person who I'd never even met, and they'd kind of tolerate me as this sort of plucky comic relief as part of the group. And I guess that sort of helped a bit with DayZ, as even though all this awful stuff happens and people are force-feeding you bleach and stripping you down and making you, repeat a monologue or something, every now and then someone does something really, really nice. And it's quite touching because this is someone you don't know. And I don't know, that really stuck with me.
All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Hi guys. Mine was a bit more of a serious question about game design. Thank you. I was just wondering what inspired you all and what inspires you day to day to get into and keep going with game design? What keeps you motivated?
Well, for me personally, I just love seeing people like interacting with the world and basically seeing what you've worked on come to life. I guess day to day, what you make, you don't really see it go in the game. It's kind of like almost any job has its boring moments, and even though you love making games, the actual mechanics of making the game can be quite tedious at times. So it was really when you see people stream, especially streaming and seeing Let's Plays, and you watch people actually playing the game, that's when it really hits home that this is what I made and people are loving it or enjoying it or hopefully loving it too. That's what really, when hits home that this is what you're working on and this is a great job.
Yeah, we have one of the benefits we have is a really tremendous community. So it's reading all the stuff, and like Mash says, the Let's Plays and YouTube stuff. It's like because our game is so much smaller than Dean's, and we never thought we'd have so many really interesting stories. And not only that, it's like because of the isometric graphics and everything. People bring a lot of their own imagination to the write-ups that they do. So they insert all this extra narrative, and it's almost like fan fiction almost, when they write the story of how they played the game, and people read it and people are interested in it. And it's just we never thought that would happen. It was amazing when it did, and so it kind of like we owe them and everybody to just kind of keep pushing forwards and try and create more of that.
I know for me, I previously worked in the video game industry, but I didn't like the games that I was working on. And I realized that I didn't want to make games unless they were games. I make games to play them. So maybe that's why I don't like working on, say, story-driven games, because if I make a story-driven game, I'm not going to want to play it. I'm going to be sick of it by the time I'm finished it. But if you work on a really open-world multiplayer game, I'm actually really selfish. I just want to work on open-world multiplayer games like, screw you guys, I want to play it. So, yeah, pretty much that's it. But, yeah, I've kind of totally lost my train of thought there.
No, actually, what your point there is actually bang on, because it's like if you write a narrative-written game, when you've written it, you know intimately the entire story, everything that can possibly happen. But if you do an open-world sandbox-type game, you can't predict what's going to happen. So everything you read and everything you see is unique and interesting, and things that you never envisaged happening. So you can kind of enjoy your own game a lot more than if it was something that you just, you know, where all the secrets are, you know, where all the stuff is, you know, what the story is, you know, that's a lot harder to personally enjoy.
But there's a dark side to it as well, because, you know, when you're sitting out there, right, you're all sitting out there. When you play a game and you're like, they totally should have added, like, pink sharks to this game. And when you made the game, then you go, wow, I better add pink sharks. And so then you stop playing the game and you start, you know, developing pink sharks. And that's the problem. It can be very hard sometimes, I find. You're making this game and then you're like, oh, wow, you know, we really need those pink sharks. I'll play the game once the pink sharks are in. And then you put the pink sharks, you play the game, and then you're like, we've got pink sharks. We really need, like, seaweed or something. And I'm really obsessed with the sea at the moment. What is with that?
So pink sharks and Daisy confirmed. Someone called Kotaku.
And seaweed. You can't.
Yeah, and seaweed. So,
thanks, guys.
Just me.
Well, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for questions right now. So I'd just like to say thank you all for coming, and thanks to the Indie Stone and Dean Hall.
Thanks, everyone.
I say it's time we focus on what really matters. The games. See, I love gaming. I love walk-off homers and headshots. I love drifting a turn at 100 miles an hour in boss battles with a 600-foot-tall Greek god who may or may not be your father. Gaming is having a ridiculously huge TV in a tiny one-room apartment. Staying up till 3 a.m. to earn a trophy that isn't real. But is. And it's girls who know that the way to a man's heart is through a melee attack. I love gaming. And I know you love it too. That's why you're here. We all serve one master, one king. And his name is gaming. Forever may he reign! Look at it this way. If you've got an awesome girlfriend, and then someone else gets an awesome girlfriend, you know who wins? Everyone.
Where did you find this guy?
loving for your pie. Don't be alone. Give me the keys. Let me drive my blade into barren seas. Make it taste like candy. Come on, let me get a bite. I got the walls of Rezzed, yeah. Come on, let me get inside and let me your more. You don't know what you want till you try it all. Oh,
Whoa. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the X Factor auditions. It's not really. It's a packed house. It's not. Thank you for coming along to see a live podcast being recorded. Obviously, we're not actually recording a podcast. We're just videoing us. And as you can see, we've got cake. We've got T-shirts. Those are for questions later when you ask them, hopefully, if you ask them. And I've also got some lovely guests, which I'll introduce you to now. So my first guest, here on my left, is Chief Boy Band member. It's Andrew Smith, lead designer of Tango Fiesta, which is on the show floor, which won the Game Jam last year and is back now with a vengeance.
It didn't win. It didn't win last year.
Sorry, I get that wrong. In my head, it did. So you were effectively runner-up.
Yeah, and the runner-up prize was essentially a publishing deal. So yeah, we're happy.
So Andrew's tried a bit harder this year by baking a cake.
Yeah, always overcompensating.
So I don't know are we going to be able to give these guys?
I think unless we're all really hungry, there is enough for quite a lot of people. Depending on questions.
Everyone has to have a piece.
Everyone has to have a piece. I'm going to be a while with the cutting. That's what I'll say.
Well, it's fair. Thank you very much. And these, I mean, that's not a very considerable knife, but...
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife. My next lovely guest, I don't know how many people recognise him here, or maybe just say something in your lovely voice.
Hello, welcome to the Eurogamer.net podcast.
Does anyone recognise that? He used to be the host of the podcast. It's Tom Champion, who also helps put on this event, runs this event as well. So, how's it all going?
Very well, I think. Although I'm at the point of exhaustion, I have to say. So this might not be a very high energy podcast.
Keep yourself moving. That's why we're on stools rather than sitting back in chairs to keep the energy up.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm good. Thank you, Bertie.
Yeah, shoulders up. Project. Talk to the back of the room.
So
fantastic. Hi. Well, hello, Tom. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
My next lovely guest, I'm assuming he's lovely. It's John Ribbons from Roll7, the maker of excellent, amazing Vita game, Oli Oli, and also Not a Hero, which is on the show floor. They're both on the show floor. Not a Hero is still alpha. It's not out yet. But hi, John.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm very good. Do you want to sing a solo or anything, or?
No, I'm doing a duet with Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
I don't know any duets.
Thank you very much for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, it's been awesome. I'm now ready to go to bed. Bit tired, but
yeah,
it's been really good.
It's been a long show. I'm sure you guys are tired. I'm probably the only reason you're in here, so you get to sit down for half an hour. They're laughing because it's true.
More chairs next year.
The final guest is someone I work with every day. It's Tom Phillips, staff writer for Eurogamer. Hi, Tom Phillips.
Hello.
What have you been doing here?
I've been watching some of the sessions. Friday was kind of a regular news day, so we got to do some of our work from Rezzed, which was quite nice.
What work have you been doing? What exciting journalism have you been doing?
Yeah, exciting stuff. I'm working on some stuff for next week that I can't quite talk about yet, but enjoying some of the...
Like what, Tom?
I can't talk about it. Oh my god! It's like I'm being interviewed. It's odd to be on the other side of the table.
Answer the question, Tom.
It's very bright light. It's a very bright light. Also, I like these stools. They are kind of boy bandy. I feel like we're going to do a verse and then we're going to stand up for the chorus.
Everyone I've been on a panel with has remarked the same thing. It's like a...
Are you saying I'm unoriginal?
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
It's a very funny
I'm
thing.
saying you're also creative, like they are. So, we're going to talk a bit about the show. Then you're going to get a chance to ask some questions, if you have any. So do think now about questions, because it's really awkward when I ask for questions and no one moves, and then I have to pad.
If every question is, can I have some cake, then that's
Can I have a
great.
T-shirt?
No, Tom. You should be wearing one, really. So, it's a lovely event. I hope you've all had a nice time. I'm sure you have had a nice time. But Tom Champion, these events don't just happen overnight, do they?
I wish they did. Oh no, actually, I wish they didn't, because then I wouldn't have a job, I suppose. But, no, there's a lot of work, I guess, behind the scenes. A lot of people involved.
How much work? Because you never seem to be that busy.
You only work 2 weekends a year, this and EGX London, right?
Yeah, I basically get 6 months off after this and start working again the second week of September.
How far away does it start? When do you start organising it?
Sort of almost immediately after you finish an event. You're obviously looking at dates for the next year, venues and all that sort of thing. So yeah, almost straight away. And the sales guys, David Lilly and Matt Stiles, who work on the commercial side, talking to publishers all year round about both events now.
And what's been the biggest challenge you faced this year putting on this show?
Well, I guess as you've noticed, it's a fair bit bigger than last year, almost sort of double the size. I think it was important for us that we sort of grew the show, but it kind of tried to keep its sort of indie spirit while making a bigger event. I think that was probably the hardest thing, but I think hopefully we've achieved that. There seems to be, there's a hell of a lot of very, very good indie games on the show floor, coupled with, some bigger titles like Titanfall and Hearthstone, Alien Isolation, and
Titanfall, the game we write about every day on Eurogamer.
Shh, don't tell them. Yeah, it had to be here basically. So I think that was the most difficult thing. But I mean, hopefully, anecdotally anyway, from the people I've spoken to on the show floor, everyone seems to be having a good time. So hopefully that is.
Are you all having a good time? Yeah, you see? Someone say no.
The guy on the end said no. Do you want some cake? Will that help?
Will that help? Can we bribe you into saying it's good? Fantastic.
Excellent. There you go. Whole cake.
Well, I don't know if you can have the whole cake.
I probably can't even launch it that far.
It's not a food eating competition as well, but you could try with your hands.
We should do that. That sounds great. Next year, eating competition.
So they eat the cake, and then what do they win?
More cake.
Brilliant.
The competition effectively just eats itself. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. How many people have been at the show?
We've had about 15,000
wow.
this year, which is obviously a big improvement on...
How many people go to EGX London, just to put it into perspective?
Okay, so last year, I think... Sorry, I'm kind of frazzled. About 80,000. So, it's still...
That's 80, just in case anyone...
80, yeah. It's still kind of small compared to London, but obviously it's grown pretty quickly from last year, and it's been good. I mean, hopefully everyone's had as good a time as they had last year. That's the hope anyway.
So what's the plan for? I know you probably don't have an exact plan for next year, but what's the kind of broad plan? Like bigger, better, still in Birmingham. Birmingham's going to be massive.
Yeah, we haven't kind of made any final decisions on. Where it's going to be.
Is this an elaborate no comment?
This is just me mumbling now until you then answer the
I'm glad
question.
it's you and not me.
No, I don't know. We obviously got to sit down and review how the show's gone this year and make some decisions about what we do next year. But I'm sure that Rezzed will be back.
If you guys have got some suggestions, we'd love to hear them on the microphone in just a minute. So. Rezzed is a lovely place to see lots of very different games. It's not just one publisher dominating the show floor with this big bombastic stand and showing off all their stuff. There's loads of games out there from teams that don't have money to exhibit at these other places. Tom Phillips, let's go over to you. What have you seen here that's tickled your fancy?
I think everyone's been kind of taken a bit back by Gangbeat. Is that his name?
Gang
Beasts. Sorry, it was so good.
What
I
is it?
forgot to look at the name under it. I was just busy playing it. It's a 4-player or up to 4-player brawler, and I wrote that. I think that the art style is kind of claymation. It looks a bit like Tony Hart's Morph. If he'd gone out in Croydon and had a few beers and had a bit of a punch, and yeah, you can pick people up, throw them out of the ring. It's like an arena-based affair, and you can throw people into stage hazards through glass windows of pubs, that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. If you've got some mates and you're here at Rezzed, give it a try.
Fantastic. And John, how about you? Have you had a chance to peel yourself away from your stand and go and see something else?
A little bit. So I went and checked out Standpoint, which is way off in the corner, which is like a gravity switching puzzle game.
Okay.
With a lovely soundtrack. And I briefly got to try out The Escapists because you guys mentioned it on your thing today, but then I got dragged away to come here, so I'm going to go back.
I
and
had a
check it out
go
later.
on Escapist as well, and I think maybe the demo ran a little short for me because I liked the kind of frantic trying to keep up and then find time to kind of dig your. So you escape from prison in this game, Escapist.
Or fail to.
Yeah, you try to. All the while trying to like rush to the workout benches in the prison and rush to the
Or go and do your
showers and try
laundry
not to
job.
get like shivved at the same time by other people there. But I was frantically trying to keep up, and then the demo was like demo over, and I was like, oh. What did you think of
I
it?
didn't even get that close.
Oh.
So I went and did my laundry, and then got some keys and stuff, and then got shanked, which was a shame.
Which is what happens in real prisons.
Yes.
So. Andrew, what have you played?
That was loud. I really enjoyed Gang Beasts as well. I was a massive fan of Power Stone 2, and it reminded me of that sort of mad, over-the-top, 4-player action sort of arena thing, but with crazy, funny physics. So that's a great one. But I've got to give a shout to Mega Coin Squad.
I didn't see it.
Oh, it's fantastic. So Big Pixel Studios, if I'm not wrong, they do a lot of mobile stuff, and this is their first sort of PC console game, and it's a 4-player single screen race to grab either, depending on the mode, a giant coin and hold on for it for as long as possible, or all the coins or power-ups. And you basically it's just 4 of you with sort of standard jump, dash powers. It's a bit Towerfall-esque, I guess, but more 16-bit sort of colourful Nintendo Sega-esque kind of a version. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Towerfall is a game that I really enjoyed. I know it's a kind of a bit more of a known quantity. It's not so new to this show, but it's good fun. It's a 4-player beat 'em up. It's a bit like Smash Brothers in a way, but you get 1 life and it's like straight away dead. And I won, I think. So that's why I liked it. That really enhanced my opinion of it because I won. It's effective bribery, isn't it? I also played Alien Isolation. This little game. I don't know if you've seen it out there. Which was fantastic, and a lot of the people I've been talking to have been talking about how scared they've been by this game. A few people were like, they had to put the pad down and walk away. It is scary. It's quite unsettling. I recommend it.
It's probably like the only game at the show that people have said I really don't want to play it on Oculus Rift because I might die of a heart attack.
It's crazy. I played another game, a survival horror game like that, which was very much runaway survival horror, Monstrum. And I did it with the Oculus. It's the first time I've used Oculus Rift, bizarrely enough, but it was great. And then this great big sort of zombie werewolf thing stormed down the hallway and killed me. And I was like flinching as it came at me. Come at me, bro. And trying to get it off of me.
I was playing that next to you. I think I heard you swear quite loudly.
Yeah, I'm trying not to now. In replicate, I don't know why. But, I'm trying.
And playing Alien as well, I think.
Yeah, I do get quite vocal when I play these games. It's like a release.
There was a member of the editorial team at Eurogamer who couldn't finish that demo. I'm not going to name that person, but who had to leave before the end. It got too scary for them.
Fantastic. Well, I want to hear your questions now because I could bang on talking about this, that. I want to hear what you guys have been playing, what you liked. Any questions you've got for us, we'll try and answer. So there's a microphone in the middle. Don't be scared about going up to it. And please, someone look like you're going to move up to it. No one is. Yes! Fantastic. So yeah, just come and ask, just chat. If you just want to say hello and, ask our advice on the weather or far away.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering if we could go old school and have a bit of a game of Sandy Isle games.
Sandy Isle Games. Tom, do you want to take the lead on this? Because you're the maestro.
Old school. I can't even remember what that was.
Isn't it like, it's like Desert Island Discs, isn't it?
It was exactly like Desert Island Discs, except we didn't want to say that for fear of copyright infringement.
So what game would I take to a desert island?
Yeah,
for
or
the rest
perhaps
of my days? Or what game from the show floor, maybe?
Yeah.
Ah.
Well themed. You're a good host.
Yeah. I should. Thank you. Let me see. I've only played a handful of games. I played Cloud Built, sort of fast-paced kind of free-run games, a bit like third-person Mirror's Edge kind of thing, and that was really cool. But actually, I'd probably go with Wasteland 2 because that just seems incredible.
and I really like RPGs.
And it's quite, it'd be quite bleak, like being stuck on a...
Yeah, exactly. It would remind me of my immediate surroundings.
Yeah.
That is definitely what I would want.
Reinforcing you being trapped on a desert island. So.
Exactly. And that can only be a good thing.
How about you, John? What game from the show would you take to a desert island forever and ever and ever?
Maybe Gods Will Be Watching, because it's almost like training for being
Okay.
on a desert island. We could simulate the whole situation first, what's going to happen. But probably in reality, Hotline Miami 2. I think I could play that indefinitely, just running around murdering people.
Very good. Andrew, how about you? What game would you take? He's going to say Tango Fiesta, aren't you?
No. I mean, it's not finished. I should take it with me and finish it. But, I could be mean and be like, I'd take something I really didn't like so that I really encourage myself to leave the desert island. But I think genuinely, I don't know, something like Dream maybe, because it has a VR headset and then you don't have to worry about being on an island anymore.
You'd have to be careful about sunburn, obviously. You don't want to get too into the game and
That's
forget
true.
about protecting
See,
yourself.
I clearly
from the sun.
haven't thought this through.
Well, I have.
Get back
So-
to me.
Mr. Phillips, how about you? Alien Isolation. Are you going to be scared?
It
every
would
day?
make you feel better about your surroundings being on an island after coming. You're like, oh, phew, I'm just on an island and not in a shipping space. Or I might take Hearthstone because with a couple of years I might finally be good at it.
Very good. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. In keeping with the theme of the show, obviously, do you feel the indie scene has become the place to be for a lot of new and creative ideas, as opposed to the blockbuster AAA big budget scene in the gaming industry right now? I feel personally, as someone who's just got a PS4, there's not a lot of new ideas in the AAA scene right now. It's quite disappointing to me personally. So I've been playing a lot of indie games. I just want to
Thank
see your
you.
opinion.
I think it's fascinating that the next generation isn't necessarily, people look to the next generation to bring them next generation experiences, and those next generation experiences are actually, in my opinion, they're coming from the indie scene, and people are opening up towards that. And so the next generation, for me, is a bit people becoming more welcoming of a bigger variety of games, even though they might look like a SNES game or something. People are getting into it, which is precisely what Sony particularly. I know Microsoft are doing it, but they're doing it in their clunky way. But Sony are walking around wearing we love PlayStation, we love indie games. So I think it's quite exciting. I'll stop talking. Someone else can.
I think a lot of it's to do with the tools and things. I mean, something that's been sort of recurring for us is people really surprised at how little we've worked on our game, and I know other people have worked on their game for, it's like 6 to 8 weeks worth of work, and you can demo it and it can, be held
I
up
thought
against...
you were saying people were surprised how little we worked on our game. Just full stop.
Which is, in general, it's like, wow, you guys, this is your full-time job. But that's down to things like Unity and Game Maker and all of this kind of stuff. And it's, they've been bubbling away for a long time. And I think we've hit a point where it's kind of like a meeting of, the sort of the money men see that there's a lot of, they can basically plug their gaps in their release schedules with these little cool games that everyone seems to enjoy. And at the same time, we benefit from it from the extra exposure, but it wouldn't happen without the tools being mature. And I think that Unity in particular, and I'm sure lots of others, have really come to a point where you can make a really, really good game in a very, very small amount of time. And that's traditionally not been the case, and still isn't in AAA. I dread to think how long it took, say, Infamous to get to like first playable. I mean, it would have been months and months and months and months and hundreds of thousands of dollars. For us, it's about 8 weeks and some cake. It's wildly different.
Is that how the money goes around? It's just cake.
Yeah. It's so that I can dodge all the things about, you pay your monkeys in peanuts. It's like, no. No one ever thinks to ask about the cake.
And talking of cake, would you like to come and have a slice of cake?
Yes, please.
Oh, there was the other guy as well.
Yeah, sorry, we did miss someone else as well. Would you like to come and have a slice of cake?
Stop me talking through it, someone else can.
And have a T-shirt as well, actually. Come on up.
Help yourselves.
I think you have a choice of extra large, and that's it.
Biggest you have.
I think that
Big
is.
guy,
And a
Man
t-shirt.
down.
I'm on the Eurogamer.
And a t-shirt for you, good sir. I've picked out an extra large because that's the only size we've got.
The amount of times I booked Tom to be
So while they're cutting cake, can we have another question, please?
There's lots of early access games here, either discussed here or on the show floor. So like Daisy, Project Zomboid, Stronghold Crusader 2, Prison Architect. How important is it to get games into users' hands as quickly as possible?
John, why don't you jump off in this one? Because you're alpha, aren't you, on Not a Hero? And
We are alpha. We're not doing early access, but it has been really awesome because this is the first time we've been showing the game here. So it has been really nice to realise most of the stuff we thought that people would hate or notice, they didn't. They broke it in completely new and different ways that we never expected. But I guess, yeah, it's really good to get like real people playing it. I think probably you notice the mistakes more as a developer than other people do, and it's really cool. I guess it's really inspiring because you put a lot of time into making a game before you bring it here, so it's nice to see people enjoying it, or just walking away and knowing that you need to change something and fix it to make it engaging.
So is it more a motivation tool for the development team or a marketing exercise?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I think it's probably really good because you have an audience before you release. You have people who are kind of have a vested interest in your game as well because they've played it, they've given you feedback, and maybe even seen that feedback implemented. But yes, I guess that is also marketing.
And Andrew, what's your? Because are you planning to do early access? I think
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
In about 6 weeks.
In about 6 weeks. Oh.
Yeah, get that in there. Yeah, it's. So I missed the question. I was cutting cake.
So you might as well just fire away again.
Yeah, so there's a lot of early access or alpha unfinished games here.
Yeah.
How important is it to get games into users' hands as quickly as possible?
Okay, bro. For me, very. I think any technique, any sort of route to market that you can get, that sounded really corporate for an
It
indie,
did,
didn't it?
yeah, yes it
Whoa,
did.
yeah, but any way that you can get your game in the hands of the players that are going to become the fans is great. And as soon as you're confident that you've got something representative, even up to early access, things are going to change. As soon as I'm a great believer that I'll design something, as a team we'll make something, but until someone plays it, it's not actually important. And after that point, it is the players. Like, who am I to tell someone how they're supposed to have fun in my game?
Yeah.
I hope, that professionally I can kind of predict that and support that. But, I'm not going to kind of complain if someone enjoys reloading their gun over and over. That's fine. And that's the value of Steam Early Access and things like that. It's just getting it out there, getting real opinions from real people, not just these imagined gamers in my head. So it's fantastic.
I hope that answers your question. Would you like a slice of cake?
Yes, please.
Come on down. This is our last T-shirt, I'm afraid, but we've got lots of cake. And I believe, Andrew, you also have a little gift that you could give away. Would you like to explain it to our wonderful audience?
Yeah, so I've got the characters in our games. I brought a dog tag each for one of the 4 characters. It's limited to this show. So I'm pretending that we're a big deal before we are. I hope everyone's okay with that. We gave one away in the talk the other day, and I've got one left. So
that's quite a big
you'll
slice.
get a dog tag. I'm not even sure which one it is actually. Which Hollywood character we haven't, honest to God, ripped off. Oh, it's Miller, Australian Force Patrol, birthday 1956. If you know who that is, then you can get it. I think that's probably the qualification. But yeah.
Okay, that's a very big slice. So
That's big.
Here, have a fork, have a napkin. You can share it with your friends. Ooh. Have 2 napkins because I like they're stuck together. There we go.
It's harder than it
Perfect.
looks, isn't it?
It's all planned perfectly. Yes. Hello.
Hello. And next year, can we have more Dean Hall?
How much more Dean Hall can you take?
As much as I can take.
Rezzed. Dean Hall with his pin. I can't do it properly. It's almost like he's here.
You're great with accents.
What's that?
You're great with accents.
Well, I try. You're
try.
forcing me. You're encouraging me into an accent. I don't want to do it because I'll offend someone.
You might be here. We can't see.
Yeah, I know. Is he here? No, he's not here. We'd love to have Dean Hall here again. He's got a nice relationship with Rezzed because he was here the first one. when DayZ was blowing up. So his story's kind of followed along and played out with Rezzed involved, which has been great. But you know, he's leaving Bohemia at some point. He may still be there this time next year, but even if he is, maybe he comes with someone else who he's handing the project over to, or I don't know. He might just be doing something else and not. But he's awesome, and he makes a lot of time for people as well, for the community. I don't think I've seen anyone put that kind of energy into the community, and I think it works really well for him. And yeah, it's good. It's good that people are pumped up about him. So
Cool. Thanks.
all right, would you like a bit of cake?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Andrew, would you like to cut this one? Because I cut half the cake last time. Hello.
Hi. Burning question, what flavour of cake?
What flavour is this cake?
It's lemon drizzle sponge cake.
Fantastic.
Awesome. I'll
The
have
best
a large
kind.
piece for that one, just to let you know. Now, my question is...
I'll leave it out because it's empty.
Forgot. Yeah, what's your least favourite genre in video games?
Mine is Japanese dating sims. I don't like those. They're just
Forever alone.
yeah. They're not my favourite. Tom, what's your least favourite? Or John, whoever wants to.
Should we do it at the same time?
Do it at the
See
same
if we get
time.
the same game. On 3.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Japanese dating sims.
I didn't hear either of that. I heard Japanese dating sims. What was yours, John?
Like the dearth of Minecraft clones on HBO.
Minecraft clone.
Flappy Bird clones.
Strong one. Tom, how about you? Tropico.
Oh, that is
Tom's actually a
clearly
huge
the best.
Tropico fan, you
It's
see.
a genre all on its own, and it's the greatest of the genres. My least favourite, I don't know, probably puzzle games or something. They always make me feel really stupid.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. Which one's particular?
Oh, I don't know. Name a puzzle game. Tetris. That one. Tetris.
Tetris, rubbish. It's never going to catch on. Andrew, how about you?
Sort of. I was going to say simulation games, but now that means hilarious, over the top, goat sort of things. But old simulators, things that aren't really games, things that are kind of teaching tools. They're probably my least favourite.
So education.
Education. I hate education.
I just thought Goat Simulator, when it's Game of the Year, you could call it Goaty.
Oh.
And it is. So, well, if it's Game of the Year. How about you? What's your least favourite genre?
I'd have to say point and click.
Point and click's rubbish. Who likes that?
I can only point or click, I can't do both.
Fantastic. Thank you. Would you like a slice of cake? Hello.
Hiya. First, when you asked which game was favourite from out there, I'd say that was Terratech from the. Oh, sorry, Terratech would be my favourite game from out there.
I didn't see that one. What's that?
It's the one where it's one of these very, very small ones from the Alley.
Yeah, the Left Field collection.
That's the one. It's one where you kind of build a tank and you shoot, destroy the other tanks, and you keep scavenging their pieces. And
Oh, kind of a bit like, it looks a bit Lego-y.
Yeah.
Yeah,
almost
okay,
like
yeah.
Lego. The question is, just out of interest, what would be the greatest challenge in putting on an event like this, and
The lead up.
This is the kind of enthusiasm he
This
just
is the
says
kind
on
of
a
high
day-to-day
energy stuff
basis.
you get into day 3 of an event. Sorry, I've been up here since Tuesday, and it's not good. My brain is mush. Am I still answering this question?
No.
Am I still talking? Is this thing on? Can I have some cake?
You can have a slice of cake.
I've got a very dry mouth now. That's the only problem. Yeah, no, it's all pretty difficult.
There you go. So a career in events awaits.
Do you want a job?
Exciting.
Because I think I might be fired after this.
Yeah. Come and have a slice of cake. Hello.
Hello. What's everyone's thoughts on the Oculus Rift being bought by Facebook? Originally it was quite underground, but now it's sort of going to go, well, whichever way they seem to take it. I had a chance to play Dream yet, but I'm going to queue up. Just wondering everyone's thoughts of where it's going to go and whether it's good for it or bad.
Tom, do you have a...
On the face of it, it's going to be pretty annoying for people who have backed it as a device that was supposed to revolutionise gaming. And if you looked at what Mark Zuckerberg said in his statement, it was all about experiences, and everyone had nightmare visions of suddenly their newsfeed being projected into their faces. And I guess, you know, it is surprising, but at the same time, it's not. VR will continue, I think, to be a really cool piece of in-development technology for gaming. Sony's Project Morpheus and whatever Microsoft are probably up to will still come along. And if you have to look at, if to find the silver lining to it, I think that a lot more people are going to be able to play with Oculus now because of this, because of the money behind it. It is still a very cool piece of development kit, but if it gets into more people's hands because of it, then I think that's a good thing. So it's, you know, I can see both sides of it, but I think that in the long run, there might be some positives.
Hey, they could rename it On Your Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe. You don't have to.
Facebook for your face.
Yeah. Andrew, so looking at it with like indie eyes.
Indie eyes.
What do you think? Has your perception of Oculus changed now?
I don't know, not really. I think one of the biggest things for me was I quite like the idea of people with tiny flats who haven't got room for a massive telly, just buy an Oculus Rift and then they've got the massive telly, they're just on their face. So that's not going to change in the fact that it's ridiculous. But specifically, I think that Facebook, taking a step back, Facebook are, you know, a social company. You know, Facebook is their one product, but they're crazy to not look beyond that. And so I think that's the play that they're making, you know, connecting people quite literally in the same space rather than on a computer screen. You know, that's where they're going. Looking at someone like, well, not someone, but like the reaction from Notch and Minecraft, Mojang, you know, they cancelled, I believe they cancelled
they pulled
the Minecraft thing. And it's like
which was going to be free for Oculus. But
it seems like a move that, well, they can afford to make that. It wasn't going to make or break their company. So to really see where indies are going to take it and whether it's actually going to affect us as gamers, I would look to people who are much more invested in it in a sort of project by project basis. You know, I don't think that's really representative of how most people are going to react to it. I think there's not been a lot of other decisive moves against it as a gaming platform. So
I think we're going to see as well, with all the money that presumably is now flooding into the company, not that they weren't raising money before, but you know, we're going to see it come to market quicker, probably better than it was. The perception thing about, you know, is it still an indie gaming champion? If it ever was, and it did look that way, that's something I think we'll have to wait and see. You know, I'm not sure. So that's a decisive answer. So we've got time for one more question. I hope that answers your question. Would you like some cake?
Yes, please.
Hello.
Hiya. What's the craziest thing you've done on Goat Simulator?
I haven't played it. Has anyone played Goat Simulator?
You need to play it.
No, sorry.
Oh, we haven't played Goat Simulator. What have you played it?
A little bit, yeah. I haven't put a lot of time into it, but I came across a really strange bug where I just flew for an infinite amount of time, and that was it. Awesome.
Fantastic. As long as it has yelling goats in, I don't mind.
It's got all sorts.
So that's what I hope for. Come and grab yourself a slice of cake. That is all we've got time for. You're probably relieved to find out. I hope you've had a nice sit down, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. The Game Jam is up next. So the teams have had a day to make a game from scratch, and they found out what the theme was on the day. As you'll know, it's quite tough. It's quite experimental. It's quite fun. So if you fancy that, that's next. And then there's Frozen End Zone, I think, afterwards at 5. But if not, you can just go and play loads of games or go home. Don't do that. But I hope you've had fun. So thank you to my guests Andrew, Tom, John, Tom, and thank you from me, Bertie. Thank you.